Greetings everyone. You join me just painting up some of these sort of near future / sci-fi army men that you can get from Lanard Toys, part of their core range, which used to do like knockoff is it 3-inch G.I. Joe figures, but they put out this big box of army men that they're all sort of sci-fi near future guys, and the reason I'm painting them is that I haven't been feeling too well the past few days, and when I don't feel well, maybe hear the kids in the background coming home from school. When I don't feel too well, I have a craving for cheap and easy wargaming, especially. By easy, I mean rules. I mean, I've always got a craving for cheap wargaming, that's for sure, which is why I bought these guys originally. But my craving for easy wargaming, because if you don't have the energy, the mental capacity, because you're filled up with goop in your head and you've got brain fog and all of that, you just want a nice simple system to plonk some figures down and roll some dice and not worry too much. And I thought, since I've got quite a big collection of like crappy army men types, so these aren't crappy, these are actually pretty decent, but I have got a big selection of like knights, I've got pirates, you've got the usual sort of like World War II copy stuff. Probably won't be including them, but I had an idea for a sort of skirmish setting, which has been in my brain for a while, where like a futuristic force, maybe controlled by some evil mega corporation, travels through some sort of dimensional gateway and ends up in a medieval fantasy setting. So then you've got guys with body armor and assault rifles, you know, fighting knights in armor, but the knights in armor do have, you know, enchantments and magical protection and that sort of thing. So it becomes like a magic versus technology sort of thing. You can imagine maybe something a bit like Avatar, but if instead of going to whatever the planet was called that they went to, Pandora, they ended up in something more like Middle Earth. So it's an idea I've always quite enjoyed, and since feeling poorly, I've just pulled these figures out, and had a desire to sort of maybe put just a simple system together, something that's a bit like Havoc or Heroescape, and just have some fun, easy games with them. Of course, one-page rules is there, but you know me, I always enjoy the problem-solving exercise that is sort of trying to come up with your own system. I painted these guys, as I say, very quickly and easily, because I didn't want to take a ton of time on them. And I'm actually very happy with how these guys have come out, especially. I've already painted a shed load of pirates for like an initial encounter. And because I'm not sure about the plastic, they of course got covered in texture goop, which is why they're a little bit grainy. There's a pirate. And then all I did was slap chop them, basically. See there's the captain. nothing particularly groundbreaking. I'm quite happy with how these guys have gone, especially just because the way I've used colours. So they started out as your basic slap chops, so you know, painted them black, dry brushed them in white, and then I covered them in, I think it's Plague Bearer flesh, part of Citadel's contrast range. And then I used Rattling Grime over that to mark out the dark areas. So I did boots, weapons, and helmets. Then I came back in and picked out the faces with Army Painter's mummy robes, which is just like a slightly off white if you don't have it. So then I could contrast paint the faces, or whatever skin there was on the face of the Guilliman flesh. Then I picked out some details. So I did like some guys have bayonets, so I did those. See, with silver, just did like the white patches, just to give them a hint of an insignia. I did like visors already, goggles red. And they were looking all right at this point. So here's one. Here's a minigunner guy. As you can see, he looks pretty decent. We'll probably do fine. But then I wanted to break up the figure a little bit more. And so I just pulled out Coelia Green Shade. And then I just picked out like the knee pads, vest, gloves, shoulder pads. And I think it might be desaturated because of how I'm doing the lighting here. But I think that's done a lot more to make them look a lot cooler. So that's just what I'm doing now. Just doing the Coelia Green Shade step across all the figures. And then I think they'll be done. I have sort of got a rough idea of the rules, but I really don't know if it's going to work. So I might have to jettison that at some point. And then maybe I'll just end up playing something like one-page rules. I have a 1 hour War Games Skirmish to play with. A bunch of different stuff. There's always mini gangs. Bust out Combat Zone. But at that point, you know, Combat Zone, I was going to say Laser Burn. At that point, you're sort of losing the easy game. I've got Use Me Sci-Fi from Alternative Armies as well. My basic idea was that you'd have a deck of cards. You'd flip a card, and whether it's red or black, that'll be the side. So say my futuristic guys are red, flip a red card, that's the activation they get. They can then activate one figure on the basis of that card. The figure can, obviously there'll be special rules, but basic rules, the figure can either move or shoot on that card. If they move, they can move the number of inches the card indicates. So like, you know, if it's a 10, then they can move 10 inches. Like Jack, Queen, King, you know, Jack's 11, Queen's 12, King's 13, Aces are 14. So you can either move or you can shoot. If you want to shoot, you go on the card, but you have to roll a d20 equal to or below the value of the card. So again, on a 10, you need to roll a 10 or less to score a hit. If someone's in cover, only even rolls score hits, all odd numbers will miss. So that was quite simple and straightforward. And then if you score a hit, what you do is you add the figure's shoot stat to the value you rolled. So I need to roll a 10 or less, so I roll an 8. Then my guy has a shoot of 3, add that, and that gives me a final total of 11. And then if that equals or beats, actually no, I think at the minute I've got it, if it just beats the defense value of the target's dead. I did want a little bit more. I thought that might not always be so great. So if someone's particularly weak, they might never bother to take a shot against the target that's strong. So I have thrown in, if you hit but you don't kill, you do gain, I think I call them domination points. So it's sort of like you're doing good. You're not killing stuff, but you are making their lives more difficult. So that gets you a domination point. Obviously, if you kill someone, you get a domination point as well. And then at the end of the round, whoever's got the most domination points, that translates to victory points. And then after so many rounds, whoever's got the most victory points will win. I thought that was quite a nice, just a nice simple system. It might not work at all. And then, as I say, we'll reassess and we'll come back. But I have been busy painting at the very least, and I will have some pretty cool figures that I can muck around with. I was really happy with well, the wife laughed. She said she sort of suggested when we were out at the weekend and I was looking for bases for things like this, and she suggested dominoes, and she said in the moment she thought it was a stupid idea and I was just going to laugh. But it's so easy to get hold of cheap boxes of dominoes. Most of the time I think they're wood. They're like cheap wood. But they're just absolutely perfect for figures this size. And they're nice and weighty as well. So they don't get knocked over. The fact that they're rectangular means they're quite long as well. So a lot of the figures whose stances are too wide to go on most circular bases without going really big, they fit on the dominoes quite well. So yes, all these guys have been super glued to dominoes. So there's a little wargaming tip for you. But yeah, other than that, you can see that my desk is populated by just so much stuff currently, and I don't really know what's what, whether I'm coming or going. As I say, I'm not feeling great today. I've got quite a bit of, you say that brain fog you get where you've just got no energy. So which is why I'm just doing something brainless at the minute. I've got a whole Lizardman army that I built here out of Wargames Atlantic's stuff. They're for hostile planets. Oh, no, is it hostile stars, blasted planets? Blasted planet? I think it's blasted planets. That weird rule set that's just online that I found for fun. That's what the female cannon fodder here are from Wargames Atlantic. I've got Grey Knights built. These are Primaris Grey Knights using some intercessors and Grey Knight bits, because obviously everybody's thinking about 11th edition 40k, and even in the skeptical crowd, normally you end up getting something and giving it a go at least. Not really making any progress in any real one direction because I've just been doing so much random stuff. But yeah, that's just a bit of a hobby update. Maybe once I've got these guys painted and put some sand on their bases, I'll roll some dice and see how we go. I've also got, still going over in the back of my brain, solo play for Chobnagoth, which is a project I'm still really excited about. I've also really want to get back into my Deaths app, because that's been long neglected. So yeah, it's just a little update, very rambly, but that's because the paracetamol is now wearing off and I can feel my temperature going up. Thanks for stopping by. If you made it this far in the video, I have mercy on your soul, because this probably didn't make any sense. Yeah, subscribe, like, thanks for listening and indulging me, and I will see you next time.